The rules of global wealth were permanently rewritten on March 2nd, 2022, when the US and its allies froze $300 billion of Russia's foreign currency reserves overnight. It was a terminal masterclass in counterparty risk. Western advisors kept screaming at you to buy paper stocks and bonds, but the world's biggest central banks watched that freeze take place and immediately executed a massive structural pivot. They realized that if your wealth exists as a digital entry in someone else's banking system, you don't actually own it. You're just a tenant. The data shows a historic rush into the ultimate non-sovereign asset. In 2022 alone, global central banks aggressively accelerated their gold accumulation, purchasing a staggering 1,136 tons of physical bullion. That wasn't a temporary spike. The momentum carried straight through 2023 with another 1,037 tons, and central bank demand has remained relentless right into 2026. The People's Bank of China led the charge, expanding its gold reserves for 18 consecutive months, while India and Poland systematically stacked hundreds of tons of physical bars in a historic diversification drive. Notice how the entire philosophy of reserve management has shifted from return on capital to return of capital. Gold cannot be printed by a central bank decree, and it carries zero default risk. But the real game changer is where this gold is physically sitting right now. A profound repatriation trend has quietly begun. Countries like India have pulled over 100 metric tons of their physical gold out of London vaults, moving it back to domestic holdings for the first time since 1991. Nations across Africa and Eastern Europe are actively auditing their foreign allocations and bringing their bars back home. You can begin to feel the structural tension when you realize why this relocation matters so much. Storing your primary financial shield inside a foreign vault leaves you entirely vulnerable to geopolitical restrictions or sudden asset freezes during a major crisis. When a government moves its physical coins and bars into its own domestic vaults, it eliminates the middleman and secures total, direct control over its sovereignty. It is a mathematical hedge against currency debasement and geopolitical conflict. The signal from the global ledger is clear. The smartest money on the planet isn't buying the paper narrative anymore. Gold for these institutions isn't a tool to get rich quick. It is a hardcore protection asset against inflation, systemic instability, and weaponized financial networks. While the retail crowd is distracted by the daily noise of the stock market, central banks are building an unfreezable foundation of hard assets beneath their feet. You can start to notice a shift in your own financial perspective as you watch this global reset play out in real time. The era of blind trust in digital promises is drawing to a close, and the physical reality of wealth preservation is taking over. Most people will stay asleep until the next liquidity trap springs shut, but you can choose to follow the exact same blueprint the superpowers are using to defend their future. Make sure to lock in this signal right now so you never miss our next deep dive into history.